Alright. Alright. Now, we're going to be checking out some Assassin's Creed stuff. Now, before we look into why Assassin's Creed is doomed, let's watch some gameplay of it. Because I want to know what this game actually looks like, and I'm sure a lot of other people do too. So, let's go ahead and start with nothing better to do.
It's kind of wild playing Assassin's Creed Shadows with Naue
By the way,
and using
I'm
the
King
menu to
CR.
quickly
How you
switch
doing
to
there?
Yasuke. Bam, you're back where you were standing and have a completely different feeling. It's kind of
There we
wild
go.
playing Assassin's Creed Shadows with Naue and then using the menu to quickly switch to Yasuke. Bam, you're back where you were standing and have a completely different feeling game. I now played more than 6 hours of Shadows thanks to an invite from Ubisoft, and this is probably the best feeling pre-launch Assassin's Creed session I've ever experienced. Totally not without issues that I will get into, but especially controlling Naue is amazing. She's fast. I very quickly picked up the new parkour move, so where you have to dodge before the edge to make a cool acrobatic move and to not lose any speed.
Wait, did you guys see that? That frontal flip? That was super weird, wasn't it?
Move,
Wait for it, wait for it.
Dodge before the edge to make a cool acrobatic move and to not
Look at
lose
that, that
any
was super
speed.
floaty
Going
as
prone
hell.
Feels insanely natural. It will be weird going back to the older games without the ability to crawl around, and I already figured out some amazing tricks.
But the
make it
game's not
great
done
in
yet, so we
combat
can't judge it.
Although this, of course, is where Yasuke shines the most, and I was surprised
Combat
by the
looks
many
good.
ways you can play him. Now, this two-character system also creates problems that weren't there before in the RPG games. Some could be improved to avoid some annoying situations.
Oh god,
but
that
I
UI
overall
again.
could not help but feel that the world of Assassin's Creed Shadows was made for Naue. It's her playground, and Yasuke just happened.
You know, and that makes sense, because if they're using the Assassin's Creed engine, who would have guessed that the assassin would have been the better feeling of the characters? Crazy, holy crap.
To be in there too. And you already see it, the game looks stunning. The footage is from a high-end PC, I'm using a PS5 controller, and it really doesn't matter if you walk around, check out the world on horseback or from a viewpoint, it looks absolutely insane. The recreation of feudal Japan is really well done, and not only in terms of the amount of different architecture that so far creates a way more varied world, but also because NPCs
Again, she didn't touch the railing there.
For going about their everyday life. Little things like the game removing your shoes every time you enter a building in a non-restricted area is also present, which I noticed in the hideout in particular that I also got to
But
try.
you can spawn
More
a
on that
building.
in a moment, by the way, because it's crazy. Now the game starts with Yasuke as a slave of the Portuguese who have a meeting with Oda Nobunaga. These Christians ask for a favor from the powerful man, but in exchange he wants Yasuke as he sees great potential in him. The tutorial jumps around quite a bit because of so-called fractured. Do expect a small modern-day introduction at the start of Shadows that explains why we are only experiencing certain sections. Because from the first meeting, you immediately jump to a scene where Yasuke is part of Nobunaga's army and burning down the Iga province, Naue's home. So I've not seen how the two eventually meet and decide to work together, but it was cool to switch perspectives and fight on two sides of this war. After some big moments that I don't want to spoil, I got to play with a level 25 save and could explore
God, the movements of Naue, it just looks bad.
Province. The map is pretty sizable overall, and
All those extra flips, all her landings, every time she comes in contact with the ground, you can see like a little bit of floatiness. Like whenever she does that double hand jump thing where she jumps in the air and she lands with one hand, she doesn't even touch the ground, and you can see that. And it just makes it feel awkward.
Apart from the Omi region, there's not a lot of water, so a ton of land to explore with viewpoints now only revealing all the close by question marks, so you have to physically get close to them to see what the location is. I could only try a few of the open world activities like a kata with Yasuke, which basically has you hold and press certain buttons. He also has a special archery challenge, while Naue has the hidden trails and a meditation minigame. And that is what these overall felt like so far. Small minigames just randomly
You just watched her clip inside the rock.
put in the world, but there should be some narrative elements to them as well, like playable flashbacks to learn more about the background of both characters. I've not seen
They are stealing this from Ghost of Tanushima to Teriyaki, Ghost of Teriyaki. They are stealing it from this game.
them yet though. Everything else can be completed with both Naue and Yasuke, like they can both paint animals. You can then put these paintings in your settlement or unlock the animals as pets that you can have run around. Worth noting is that there are no animals to fight in this game whatsoever, because that wasn't really a thing in Japan according to Ubisoft.
Really?
And because people in Japan at this time believed in rebirth, so an animal could be someone's future life. From a gameplay perspective, this kinda wild, as fighting animals like bears was great for variety in the previous games.
I feel like they would have had to dealt with some wildlife. I mean, predators roaming into villages and stuff.
Fight each other, and you can choose to intervene or not.
There's no way they avoided it completely.
More random encounters or like big side missions.
Maybe they used deterrent methods.
But that I did not discover.
Not a Japanese culture expert.
Now, simply existing in this world does feel way more realistic overall. There are little things like guards asking you to stow your weapon away to keep the peace. You can comply and they will thank you for that, or refuse, which triggers combat. Overall, the wanted system is really great. If the alarm bell rings, not only the whole camp, but the whole region knows about you and will attack you on sight, which can create huge battles on the street with samurai and other warriors coming out of each corner to hunt you down, not to mention the special guardian enemies that will appear once you are wanted. When this happens, you can always switch to the other character, because only the one who triggered the alarm will be on the hit.
I hate it when you get a jump on the guy and you have a blade to his throat, but it only takes half his health. I hate that so much in the new Assassin's Creed games. If I have a jump on somebody and I have a knife to their throat, that NPC should be dead. They should be unalived like no tomorrow. But instead, he gets back up and beats the living shit out of me. It's crazy.
Hit list. And infiltrating one of the many locations with an alarm, by the way, feels better than ever. And real quick, of course, I'm doing a giveaway for 3 copies of Shadows. Simply be a subscriber, like the video, and they can enter via the link in the pinned comment. So this is where the 2 protagonist system really shines. Naue feels insanely good to play, really like you imagine a ninja to control. She's light, moves like the wind across rooftops, is insanely fast, which makes getting behind enemies and going for the assassination a lot of fun. I got to try all the 4 tools. The kunai are very similar to the throwing knives we recently saw in Mirage, so a good one-hit killing device, while the shuriken are more like fun tools to toy around with in combat to interrupt an enemy and create.
The ninjas even ever use shurikens.
The bomb does not work on all the enemies this time, but it can still let you insta-kill.
What do you mean it doesn't work on all the enemies?
If you throw it right. And the bell is a less powerful noisemaker to lure enemies in
Can the motherfucker see through smoke?
It does not seem to have a combat use. Luckily, Naue can still be a monster during a fight. I totally think the Kusarigama will end up being one of the most fun weapons in the series. It has an insane range, can deal with multiple enemies at once, and also gets the job done from up close. I even figured out that if you hold the heavy attack button after hitting an enemy, you can grab and then throw them in any direction.
Look at that big guy. So you're telling me, as an assassin, you're going to go ahead and fight that big guy front forward? Are you joking? If it was me, I would sneak from the shadows and kill him instantly, but you can't in this game. They force you to have frontal confrontation if somebody's only like a level or 2 above you. I hate the new Assassin's Creed mechanics for this. Because if there's a big enemy I don't want to deal with, I can sneak up and attack him specifically.
The Tento Hidden Blade combo is amazing in combat, but also lets you do the double assassination, which is awesome. Although finding 2 enemies that stand close to each other can be tricky. But yeah, while completely wrecking everyone, I was struggling to find a reason to switch to Yasuke. Naue simply does it all. Especially after playing her for some time, you notice how slow Yasuke actually is. There are many...
Yeah, he's slow. He's a giant-ass samurai. And the guy's about as agile as a brick.
Walls, even lower,
because he's a brick house. Look at him.
If there's no path created for him or a crate or something for him to stand on. Yasuke's parkour feels even less useful than, say, an Eivor, also because we cannot climb everything anymore, only if there are handholds, which makes traversing mountains a bit more of a pain. The first viewpoint I checked, I walked inside the tower, could climb up, so I thought it was okay, but then Yasuke said that Naue could reach the top of the pagoda if she wanted a challenge. So you are forced to switch to Naue if you want to unlock this viewpoint, but also the viewpoints that Yasuke can reach on paper will take way longer.
I love the loose ropes. The loose rope mechanics I do like.
Because he has to take the stairs, find a way through a building, while Naue from the outside can climb up in a few seconds. In Shadows, one of the main locations are temples that have different objectives like killing certain targets or finding specific items in the area. I took out the whole camp with Yasuke and had to find 2 lost pages. One I could get to and I saw the glow for the other one.
And Yasuke as a samurai sneaking around, that does not make sense. As far as what I know about the samurai, they're super front forward. I'm going to fight you head on in battle. It's crazy that he's sneaking around in this.
Looked for a way to get up there, but no luck. So then you have to run out of the camp, switch to Naue because you cannot do that in a restricted area, run back, and then...
Now Naue, it makes more sense.
And complete the location.
She's going to be agile, she's going to be sneaky, she's going to be sneaky. She's not going to try to take on the whole entire fort by herself.
Lets you know that Naue is the only one who's able to complete it. Because having to figure that out yourself is quite annoying. There were multiple times that I felt punished for playing Yasuke, like you are actively making things harder on yourself if you want to use him to explore the world. But
then it makes the question, why is he even a character in the game? If it makes it feel like more of a punishment to play him. Is it that he's better in combat? Clearly not. We've just seen the assassin chick. She seemed to do just fine in combat.
I would be lying if I said that he isn't a ton of fun to play in combat. Sending enemies flying with the cannonbow was the highlight. Many regular enemies die with one charged attack, and removing the armor plates of samurai also feels insanely satisfying. Like overall, for a still work in progress build, the impact of the weapons and how the enemies react, the parry and dodge windows, it's all insanely polished. Like sure, spending more than 1,000 hours in the recent RPG games combined totally helped me to easily pick up this new fighting system, but it's also because the mechanics already work so well and they still got a few months.
They were so intent on having Inosuke in there, and they didn't even make him as fun to play as the ninja. That's fucking
to polish it even more. It is fun how versatile Yasuke can be. Sure, his assassinations are just brutal kills that alert enemies close by, but if you use a bow and some stealth allies, you can remain unseen. Overall, having more fleshed out allies,
he's a samurai. He's not meant to be unseen.
Will help you a lot in combat and add a great twist to encounters. But also here, these characters help Yasuke just as much as Naue. Like having Yaya go ham on enemies and take the aggro away makes taking out enemies with Naue also much easier. It will be really fun though to take the time to learn both characters, and where in the recent Assassin's Creed RPGs you by the 20-hour mark had probably tried every trick and ability Cassandra or Eivor had, in Shadows you now got 2 fully fledged protagonists that can be played in multiple ways. Like every weapon has a skill tree now with exclusive abilities, and you can only pick a few to use during combat. Both Naue and Yasuke also have special assassin and samurai trees with more passive and active abilities. I was also pleasantly surprised by the gear. Not only did I see some very cool looks for both characters.
I like his gear, but I think it's too flashy for a samurai. It seems like there's a lot of just random stuff that's holding you down. It's super fantasy cool, but I don't think that's what samurais look like. That's kind of crazy. It looks like what a general coming on a battlefield would look like, not like a general soldier.
Are way more impactful than say a Valhalla, where they were mostly focused on stat increases that did not do anything at all. Here they put passive effects that you would sometimes find in skill trees, like slowing down the time when detected, on a headpiece for Naue instead, which makes you have more time to assassinate a target and not get spotted. Or getting 10% more damage per 10% health you're missing with Yasuke for a fun living on the edge playstyle can be cool too. You can also engrave perks again for even more customization, and because there do not seem to be any set bonuses this time, you can very easily mix and match pieces however you like and still rock your preferred look with the transmog system that by the way works the same as Odyssey. So while legendary items are one of a kind, the game does feature a random loot system again, similar to Odyssey and Origins, with drops scaling to your current level. So many of the chests you find and more powerful enemies you take out will have new items for you. You can, however, find a headpiece for Naue while playing Yasuke, for example, or the other way around. It actually happened quite a lot for me, which on one end is nice, so they both improve in power even if you're only playing one, but for things like katanas or trinkets, it's hard to see which character can use them. So I often would go into my inventory to check the loot, only to find out that it was for the other character. If you find a gear piece, you can upgrade it to your current level at the blacksmith, who you can of course find in the settlement. And we have to talk about this hideout feature because it's pretty wild. You can namely select many buildings and put them wherever you want change these buildings, you can create roads, put down lanterns,
This is
pick shrines,
not
and
survive.
then
This
just
is not
leave the
Assassin's
menu
Creed.
and immediately see what you built. I already mentioned the pets you can select and place who will then run around in the settlement.
I do not like the fact that you can build a settlement. It looks like a civilization sim and not Assassin's Creed. I think that this was an unnecessary addition, and they probably should have focused more on the story or even the movement of the characters. I do not agree with this.
Your allies and other NPCs you meet will join your league here, and you can also interact with them or overhear their conversation.
I think Valhalla did probably one of the better ones if you had to have a settlement of some kind. Valhalla had a good one. You just upgrade as time and you get it back from your loot. It gave you something to strive for. This seems unnecessary.
But it's especially the fact that everyone will have a completely different looking hideout that is very exciting. And I will share way more details on this feature in a future video, by the way, and got some fun end of the video ideas for future content as well. But more on that later. Now I am sure that with the amount of options there will totally be some bugs and issues occurring in the hideouts, but overall the game was surprisingly polished for a pre-launch Assassin's Creed build. Now I totally had some graphical issues or menu options that would not load and one crash to the desktop, but nothing too crazy.
Look how little
With the
damage
date of
that
March
did.
20th, they still got 2 months to polish things even more.
You just cracked a
So
guy
I'm
on the
not too
head.
worried about the state at launch. The fact is that I did not want to stop playing after my session was over. One extra thing I love is that they made
This is Ubisoft's biggest failure, and I truly hate it. They don't necessarily make the AI smarter. They don't make the AI faster. They give it more health to increase difficulty, or adds more of them, or adds aggression. But they just give it more health and more defense. That does not increase the difficulty, it just makes combat tedious.
infiltrating outposts, in this case large military castles, way more rewarding. Because taking out all the bosses here will give you some of the best legendary loot. So I actually got to really work for some of the best items in the game instead of stumbling upon a random chest. I already can't wait to go and complete all of these locations and make special loadouts and fun playstyles for each character. So yes, that dual protagonist system does create problems in Shadows that weren't there before in the previous RPG games, also in terms of narrative, where you have scenes with both characters before the final boss. You can choose who to play, so the other one leaves for some reason and then immediately comes back after the encounter. Like the fact that you cannot fight alongside one another might hurt the believability of the story overall. But I do think the trade-off is worth it, as you do get a huge game you can experience with basically 2 completely different characters. They do not have the same dialogue and also feel completely different.
They can make the game as big as they want. But from what I've seen, they only had like 2 or 3 different kind of enemy types and very little mechanical difference between them. They have the big guys, they have the little guys, and they have the medium guys. That's all they got. And I didn't see too much difference between the way they fought. It looked like the only difference between the enemies was the amount of health that they had. There was nothing different in the combat, from what I seen.
To play. Like Shadows will easily give you 100 hours of content, so being able to switch between characters will make the overall experience way more varied, which is totally something that hurt the enjoyment of the previous titles after a while. Again, if you have questions, drop them down below. I also got a video on the Animus Hub coming.
And not
because
having
I got
animals
to
in
see
there,
it, got a
I
ton
feel
of
like is a
info.
huge
It's coming
downside.
very soon, just like a lot of other.
Because that takes out a necessary animal type. It's not like animals aren't going to be aggressive at all. What kind of crap is that? Of course they're going to be aggressive in some way. If you're in their territory, they're going to fucking bite you. In this game, they say that there's going to be no combat with animals? That's just fucking weird. What about wolves? What about mountain lions? Pretty sure those fuckers were in Asia? What about bears?
Content. So just make sure you are subscribed to not miss anything.
Baloo ain't
If you
gonna
like
let
the
you
video,
come
would
pet
be
him.
appreciated, and check out my other Assassin's Creed Shadows content after having played the game by clicking on the screen. I will speak to you very soon. Goodbye.
In my opinion, I think that the game might be okay for combat, but I don't know. We'll wait until we see the finished product.